born in San Antonio, Texas, our next guest grew up and soaking in the sounds of Texas music and the dance halls of the Lone Star State. Like me, I was born there. I was born in Austin, Texas.
Nice.
He also was a big fan of music, but it wasn't until later in high school that he discovered his knack for it. Over the past decade, he's played all over the U.S. and in Europe, including numerous venues in Texas. If that's not inspirational, his current single, Good Old Days, reached the number one on top of country charts. And also, his single now, which is called Lillian. So we're proud to have him. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks
Good.
for having me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the first question I gotta ask you, I ask everybody this because we're in a pandemic right now. How are you doing? How are you holding up?
I'm doing good. It's been an interesting year. Definitely not the one I could say that any of us expected.
Right.
But it's been I think life presents you with challenges. You try to figure out ways to overcome it. It's like, you have two options. You either survive or you die. So,
Right. Yeah. That's the only two options you got right now. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I don't know. It's like, what are you gonna do? So I was lucky enough to have this new music to put out. Put out 3 singles so far, and gonna put out a 4th when I put out the pre-order for the record, which comes out next January, which will hopefully be a better year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, because I say that in the fact that I was born in Austin, Texas. So I'm a country boy too.
Yeah, that's cool. Austin's a cool city, man.
Really,
I love
man,
that
I haven't
town.
been back. I'm 4 years old, and I've never been back since I was born. So I don't know anything about Texas and all the awesome stuff that it has in it. So
When the world's safer, you should definitely venture back. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Absolutely.
It's a party.
yes,
You'd
sir.
love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. In high school, what was the one band that you said, okay, this is this is where I want to go towards my country career? Which one band inspired you the most to become a country musician?
I think as far as it was specific, like I worked and grew up around a place called Flores Country Store out in Helotes, Texas, which is right outside of San Antonio. And there was one band there I don't talk about it a lot, but this is they were very inspiring. His name is Randy Rogers. He lives in New Braunfels. He's had some success in Nashville since, but my sister and I went to go see the first show. I don't know if it was the first show he played there. It was the first time we had seen him live, but it was her, myself, and probably about like 7 to 8 other people. So maybe like 9 to 11 people in the room. And the next time he came back and played a show, he had almost sold out the outside stage.
Wow.
So it was one of those things where it was like stuff like that was inspiring, and he was good too, and he never like kind of sullied his art or lost his artistic integrity. And like even when he did the Nashville thing, you see a weird transfer sometimes where they're this kind of artist and they go somewhere else and they change. But Randy Rogers Band was like a big inspiration for me as far as like making it look so fun too.
Right.
And Texas country guys, but I've always liked so many different kinds of music, and
because that was my next question is, were you always like just like a country fan, or did you listen to like rock and metal and
Yeah, I think growing up, we all have like a skater phase and like different stuff, like so it all changes. Like it got like it's like which is nice though, because I like to listen to all the different genres, because like I like to say, it's like you never know where inspiration is going to come from, so why close yourself off to it. But I good music is good music.
Right. Yeah. Because when I grew up in high school, I listened to nothing but Metallica, I mean, they were it for me, man.
Yeah.
But as years grew, I became vastly open to if there any kind of music ever, country, art, pop, rock, metal. It's just such good music,
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think as you grow older, you become very aware of your musical background.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and it's basically like, because as you're getting older, you're kind of, hopefully you're becoming more aware of things and open-minded, and
Right.
like, when a music is a feeling, like they captured a feeling, like note for note, word for word, and when that feeling finds you, you should be open to it, because that's nice. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Was the guitar your first love, or were you inspired to play other instruments like drums or bass or
I think it.
Or can you play other instruments?
I can't. I kind of dabble. I never want to confidently say that I can play it. Like I'm confident on the guitar.
Right. Yeah.
But like I can like fiddle around on a bass and play a little bit of piano. Like if there's like an emotional part that like I'm hearing and I need to lay out, I can do it. But it's not something I would do in public. I don't think, not yet,
Right.
unless someone dared me.
Right.
But yeah, the guitar is where I started. It seems to be like the easiest choice for some people. Whether like, I don't remember even being turned off by the calluses.
Right.
Either. Like it's one of those things. I was like, bring it on, calluses. Like I wanted them to happen so fast so I could just keep playing.
Yeah.
I got really addicted to it. Really, no better word for it. As soon as I picked up the guitar, it was the timing. Because I think when I was younger, my parents wanted me to play an instrument, but I was. We had video games growing up, but I was an outside boy. Like
Right.
video games weren't like they are now. They weren't everywhere, like on your phone. We didn't have the phones and stuff, so it was it was outside with a stick and my dog, like type of thing, like hitting the stick with different stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Little caveman style.
Yeah.
But it's I think my parents wanted me to play the guitar when I was younger, but I was like, I don't have the attention span for this right now. I'm so sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But so it was laying around, and when I was 17, I was looking for a new craft, and there she was, and we've been inseparable ever since.
Right. So what was your first guitar, and do you still have it?
I do still have it. It was an Alvarez.
Okay.
Which was nice. Wooden, blonde, cutaway. I do still. I don't play it, but I keep it around because
Right.
I like it. I mean, I'll noodle on it sometimes, but it's I've fallen in love with like my stage guitar, which is a composite carbon fiber guitar. Like so. Not a piece of wood on it. It doesn't have to have a truss rod. Like
Right.
you don't have to pay to get it adjusted or set up or anything. So it's just so cool. It's so versatile. But I still love everyone remembers their first,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good because the guitars takes a lot of money, to fix, to make better, or
Yeah.
like you said, fix the truss rods on it, So it
Yeah,
just takes a long time.
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you were to teach me a song on the guitar, what would it be? In which three chords is like the very first chords you should learn on the guitar? Do you think?
The first chords, I think usually like it's kind of a lot of people talk about the bluegrass method because Nashville has this number system. It's the basics are 1, 4, 5, and usually like when you start there, it's like your 1 would be your G chord. The 4 would be the C chord, the 5 would be the D chord, and most people start in G. So G, C, D are like 3 perfect chords to start with if you're gonna do like the 3 chords in the truth method of playing and everything. It's a good place to start, and that's kind of like I feel like the middle C of guitar in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So which song is like one of the easiest songs to learn when you're starting out? Do you think? Because I heard that Tom Petty is really easy to some of Tom Petty's songs because they're not really tough.
Yeah, Tom Petty is always a good choice. And as far as like wanting to learn songs, like I mean, if you play like Wildflowers or
Yeah.
like, I mean, even You Don't Know How It Feels, I think is pretty much 3 chords,
Yeah.
maybe 4. But anything like that, um, because it can kind of sound intimidating when you listen to the full track, but when you look at the chords, you're like, oh wait, this isn't that bad. Like any Hank Williams Sr. stuff, like stuff from the 40s and 50s, is usually very chill as well. Like Jambalaya by Hank Williams Sr. is 2 chords the entire time. It's just C and G.
Right.
So if you started in that GCD framework, then yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they seem to
perfect.
be like the main nucleus of the whole guitar array, because a lot of songs dwell on that GCD, aspect. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It seems like the easy. I love it too, and that's like it's. There's a lot of people that like frown upon the capo, but I'm like that's a weird thing to hate on. Something making your life easier. But it's like if you have GCD and you need to play in a different key, like just move that bad boy around and you're good to go. It's just the walk downs and G just sounds better. Like it's weird. Because I have a couple guitars at this point, and I tune some of them down so I don't have to capo them.
Right.
Because sometimes when you do capo, the only issue that I do agree with is that it kind of flattens the sound a little bit. Like it changes it. It can make the guitar sound not as just not as open and pure as it does when the capo's not on there.
Right.
So it's I have a couple guitars and I'll tune them down. Like if one's half step, instead of adjusting the key with the capo, I'll just like do that, which is nice.
Right. Cool. Were there any bumps in the road of life hindering you from becoming a musician, or was that a pleasant, sturdy journey for you? Like did everything go okay for you when you started your musical career?
Yeah, I think that I was luckier than most, which I'm very grateful for. But I think the only thing that could have ever gotten in my way, that has ever gotten in my way, is me.
Right. Yeah, because you always doubt yourself sometimes. Yeah.
Because like that's the thing with making the. I grew up in San Antonio. I lived here 21 years, and when I was 21, I decided to move to Nashville because I was like, if I'd wanted to go before, like it wouldn't have made sense. I couldn't get in anywhere. It's all bars. You're trying to get your foot in the door, and then you can't even get in the door.
Yeah, right.
But it's. I moved up there and it was scary, but I've talked to a lot of people. I lived there for 10 years too. Did a lot, like got to go overseas to Norway.
Ooh.
In my first 3 months, I got a cut on a bluegrass record, which ended up being nominated for Bluegrass Album of the Year at the Grammys.
Right.
So it's
nice.
if I was more of a douchebag, I would probably walk around saying I was a Grammy nominated songwriter. But
right.
I don't know. I'm not a. Awards are just like kind of a very small cherry on top of like the gift of getting to do this for a living in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was way luckier than most, and people, financially, like stuff can be a problem, but if you have a job in one city, you can get a job in another city and figure out how to survive there too, which is, what we all have to do. Whether if the music and paying your bills, you go get a utility job at a restaurant. I did that, which is fun, man. You're around people, and that's who we write songs about. So.
Yeah. I had an interview with an artist named Robin Benedict, and she had a rough time. She had to sleep in the car and just struggle, and I'm glad it worked out for you. I really am. So that's awesome for you.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I have friends that have moved to LA that did that, but like, I mean, it's if you're not struggling financially, you're always like struggling some way. It always seems that there's something in life, whether it's like dealing with yourself or family, or because that's the tough part too. It's like when a town that you don't know yet doesn't believe in you, you can kind of understand, but when your family doesn't, it gets kind of weird. Like my dad has always been in my corner, but and one of my sisters has, but the rest has been kind of rough. And we're here for a reason. I got nothing to prove to anybody who doesn't want to listen in the first place. So
that's right.
But yeah, I think part of being an artist is a lot about going through hardships and then being able to write about those for other people to realize that we all go through hardships. Like it's you're not alone. It's not to say that anything is worse for one person than it is the other, but it is nice to know that we're not alone, you know.
Right, that's true. So playing across our great nation, which state has been the most welcoming for you, and been the most hard time for you to you know what I mean? It's like which state wasn't the most welcoming and which one was?
Texas has always been so good to me, especially when I came back. Like it was really nice, because I played in downtown Nashville for years, and there's some bars up there where it's like if you don't play like new age pop or like new pop country and stuff, which I'll do. I like some of that stuff, but it's just not. It's not what tickles my fancy, man. I'm like, I like like Tom Petty and Hank Sr. and guys who wrote from their soul and stuff. And this new stuff, it's kind of like, they're doing it not because they were inspired by how they felt or how someone made them feel. It was more about like, oh man, I bet you this will get 1 million streams. Like the whole reason for doing it, I think, is what makes a difference to me. And a lot of people don't necessarily do it because it's, something that feeds their soul. It kind of just feeds their bank account or whatever, which is crazy because if you become a musician to be rich, like, you're already insane.
Yeah, right, yeah. Some people make it, but a lot of people don't, and I think that's really one of the most things that people forget is like, you do this because you love the music, you love playing the music, and a lot of people forget that, like, later down the road, so...
Yeah. Well, that's if it's not, also if it's not fun, like if you make this, it is a job and it does require a specific amount of focus and work, yes, but like you should always love what you do.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Like it's something, and granted we all have to take hits sometimes, like doing jobs to make extra money, but like you do it so you can continue to do what you love. There's always like a purpose behind what you're doing, even when it's like kind of not something you want to do, but like we all have to do stuff we need to do. We have those things. It's part of adulting, I guess, is what they call it.
I guess that's the term. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. So, is doggonest a word? Because I think that it's like a country word. Because I've heard a lot of terms and I never heard that until I looked up your first album.
It is definitely
a weird kind of sense.
It'd be like the Urban Dictionary of like Southern slang or whatever. I guess is what
which
it
is great because I laughed my ass off when I heard that. I'm like, oh my god, that's great. That's great. So with the release of your first album called "The Doggone Feeling," it sounds like you had an inspiration from the old school style, which is Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, and Willie Nelson. What made you want to bring back the old school style from this album?
That's actually when I started writing. Like I was adopted by my grandparents, so it's like my dad right now is 74, and all my older sister. There's a big gap in between us because I was adopted, but he liked older music because he came from that era. And so I was he brainwashed me, I guess, but it was good. I love that. I love that stuff. Man. Like, it's like from the Hank Seniors to like Sam Cooke's and stuff like that. I love old styles. Yes, he was so good. Yeah. But it's that's kind of what I grew up in. So that was naturally where I was when I made that record. It was no one else was doing it, and I didn't really think about that. So when I came to Nashville, it was a standout. Mm-hmm. Like I was kind of overwhelmed by everything that happened. I was like, because when you move from Texas to Nashville, you're like, oh man, I'm moving right into the big leagues. I'm like going out of my small little river and channeling into the ocean.
Right, right.
But when I got there, I was like kind of weirdly surprised that it was no different than, Texas. People were just like astounded that I was even doing that. And then I realized why. It was because, what we just said is like why people do things. It's like I was doing it because it was what I like to do, and it was coming out of me naturally because I was always very inspired by it. But they didn't understand because they're like, this isn't going to sell.
Right.
And I was like, and it did. It did sell, extremely well. That's probably like my best, as far as like fiscally and everything. Like that's my most profitable record.
Yeah. It's a great record though.
Which is funny. Like I love all my projects. Like, and it's what's great about my projects is there's a lot of space between that. I also worked the Doggonest Feeling record like till it was just bones. Like I made a career off that record for almost 5 years, and then put my second one out 7 years later. Like I think that one Doggonest came out January 2010, and then Things I Need to Say came out April of 2017.
Right,
so
right.
I milked that cow till it was dry.
And it worked. And it worked very well.
It was great. Like it took me overseas, and I got to see a lot of things that I never thought I would. Got to ride on a bus, probably more than I deserved. It was cool. But yeah, I love that. And the changeover was interesting though. That stuff is scary when you go from the classic country sound, because you have a lot of people like the classic country audience is like, if you don't give us just this, we will abandon you forever.
Really? Wow.
So it was like, no, they're not all like that. That's not fair, but
that's
there's some people that are like they hold you to that almost, even though you never promised them anything. You're like, this is, as an artist, it's our job to just create where we're at. And when you go somewhere new, you take your listeners with you.
Right.
And that's what happened between Doggonest Feeling and Things I Need to Say. I got kind of burnt out on the traditional country. Not the audience. The audience is always great, but I'm not going to name any names, but like people that I was touring with, like fairly famous people, they were very bitter about how the industry supposedly left them in the dust. And I was like, at the end of it, you're like, they didn't leave you, you just refused to adapt.
Right.
Like that's like, that's what we said. You're either living or you're dying. Like what are you doing?
Yeah, you gotta pick one or the other,
Yeah. If they bury you and you don't dig yourself out, you've just accepted your fate. Like,
yeah, I mean, you no one can help yourself but you. You're your ultimate, guide to life. That's what I think and feel. So, on the same album, we're talking about the Doggone Estates. On track 11, you have the Doggone Estates, but in the vinyl version, and I love that version so much. I love vinyl anything now. But you said that this record was released in 2017? Or no, 2010.
2010.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think that vinyl was really a thing as it is now. So what made you want to turn this song into a vinyl sound? Did you have foresight that the vinyl fad would come back? Or did you just like vinyl so much you're like, okay, I gotta have,
I love vinyl.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. Like I've always loved it. Like I said, my parents were older, so they had their collection lying around from like Elvis to like Sam Cooke and Hank Sr. and Jr. and all those guys. And I used to just sit there and play with it and everything. And they gave me some of those records when I moved to Nashville, which was nice. And it actually, in that video, the Doggonest Feeling music video, which is somewhere on the internet, I'm sure, little Jimmy Dickens was in it, and he brought a Victrola for me to use, like an old wind-up Victrola that played like the 78 RPM, like those thick plated records.
Right.
And he let me use it for the video, and then after the shoot, he gave it to me.
Wow. Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, I don't want this anymore," and I was like, "Oh my God, does it have a cool backstory other than the fact that you're giving it to me?"
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And the coolest thing was is that another one of my like very like inspirational guys for me was Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
And that's who it belonged to prior to
Wow.
Little Jimmy Dickens.
Yeah.
Apparently, Waylon was on a bender one night and ran into Little Jimmy, and I guess they were hanging out, and Waylon asked him if he wanted it because Waylon was kind of on edge at a certain point in his life, and he had a theory that the Victrola was haunted. So he wanted to get it out. He was super paranoid and just wanted to get it out of his house. It's like, I haven't seen anything come out of it.
Yeah,
but,
right. Okay, good. You know what?
So far so good there. But that was such a treat too, especially because with that backstory and Little Jimmy Dickens, helping me out promoting that record and then giving that to me because it was in great shape. I mean, it still is. I've taken great care of it. Like play it every once in a while. It's really cool. But yeah, I love vinyl like that deeply that if I had too much money, I would probably be dumber with it and have like so many different types of record players just laid out throughout my room. Because it's such a cool way to consume audio, like the mono thing, like that whole. Best way to put it is like the Creedence era of like rock and roll.
Yes.
You listen to that sound, what you're hearing is a crisp, like full wooden room of like mono, and it's just so nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. My dad really loved Creedence Clearwater. I'm not sure. Well, I'm pretty sure you're a big fan of it, and he gave me some vinyl records of them, and I just sat down and loved them and started collecting from there. So I have like a lot of vinyl records from them. They're amazing.
Yeah, they are so good. I'm glad it came back too. Like the dog on his feeling thing was just kind of fun. Like we had no idea. It was just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, cool. Your second album came out in 2017 called "Things I Need to Say," which sounds like an updated album compared to your last one.
Yeah.
What made you go this route instead of continuing with the old time feel?
It was kind of just where I was writing, obviously in between those two records and playing a lot and working and but I just started to shift. At some point the structure changed. I was listening around Nashville to like what and I don't know. I got inspired by like a different way to present it. The Dog on His Feeling is more of a delightful, like less heavy record. It's kind of just a feel good project, which I like making, but I'm people are complex. I'm kind of more complex than that, and art is meant to be used for expression.
Yeah.
And so I like the transfer of like it, and I was going through a lot. That record is called Things I Need to Say because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's always funny when people ask that. They're like, what's this record about? I was like, I mean, I kind of covered it with the title.
You need to listen to it, buddy.
Yeah. It was just some things I needed to say.
Right. Yeah.
But it was nice for me. It became musical therapy, and I think that's a gift in itself. If you can, sometimes I can write what I'm feeling in a song quicker than I can actually express it. It'll take me like 5,000 paragraphs to talk through it with you.
Yeah.
But when I write a song, I can do it
yeah.
in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. So I'm gonna probably be the one who asks you to again that you heard many times. Did the songs on this album derive from your life experiences, or did you just think, okay, well, this is something I need to say, obviously, and just write it down, or did you actually experience all of the things in the songs?
It was either experience by proxy or firsthand experience.
Okay.
So it's very much just an album where I'm noticing what happens. Basically we went in the studio and I was like, these are all the emotions that I've been going throughout the weeks.
Right.
Like that's kind of where I've been making records from. Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem.
Been drinking too much coffee, I guess.
Man, I love coffee, man. Coffee's the best.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's too good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like, that's how I like to write now. Is like it's like I said, it's kind of you're writing how you feel, but you're writing for people like to know that like this is a thing. Like I realize we're struggling. Like Burn This House Down's a great example.
I love that song. That song's one of the best songs on the album. To be honest with you, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, that's about my parents' divorce. And being adopted, that's already can get kind of weird sometimes. It never got too weird, kind of until the divorce. It got a little weird where, like, when you just, no one talks about it for 24, 25 years, and then all of a sudden it keeps coming up, makes you feel really uncomfortable.
Right.
So that was like a struggle for me, and then it's about coming back home, like to the house I grew up in, and where my parents were always married when I was growing up. So it was a transition for me, and about like, burning down those old memories and kind of starting anew.
Right.
But that's real, and I don't actually mention the word divorce in that song, but I've had people come up to me after shows and be like, hey man, that song, I listen to that song all the time after my wife divorced me, and it just like it really moved me. And I'm like, I never sometimes I'll tell them, I'm like, it's crazy because that's what that song's about.
Right.
I was like, so that makes me feel like I did my job.
Right. Yes.
Like, yes. When people can say that to me, like, it's like, I feel like the Grinch. My heart just grows 3 sizes. But it's not that it was small to begin with, but it's one of those things that I love that. Like that, I feel like I captured it perfectly without having to make it. It's kind of obvious that something ended in that song, but it's cool that they always actually fully receive that message, which is so flattering.
Right. I was listening. Well, I always do research before I have a guest on. And I looked you up on YouTube, and you were singing the song "Why Is a Bluebird Blue," and you told them that the answer's not in the song. I'm like, oh, that's great. So do you know now why the bird is blue, or no? You still don't know.
So it's a well, I mean, I do know it's a chlorophyll thing.
Okay.
It's your color and pigment, but it was kind of rhetorical. Like I always joke, it's the old Shakespearean thing of like what light through yonder window breaks. It's like he's kind of asking a rhetorical question. Like we know that we knew what it was because he says it right after, but it's kind of like trying to find comparison with, it's like I'm blue. You kind of want to find something else that feels like you so you can like help each other through it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of a person being very sad, hoping that he can connect with almost anything. And instead of choosing a chair or a TV or a blue phone, this bird lands on his balcony, and he almost, or like right outside the window, and he's like, hey man, are you feeling it too?
Right. Yeah.
So that's what it's about. It's just trying to connect with something and be sad with it, and kind of like try to get through each other, because a bird can fly away from a situation, a human can't.
Right. Unfortunately, not yet. Maybe we'll find some kind of device that we can.
Unless you have a sweet jetpack or something, but I don't trust that technology yet. That's it. You're just gonna blow up.
Hopefully not, but So, that's a great song, man. I listened to it. Well, matter of fact, I texted you on Instagram, and I showed you a picture of me listening to the song at work, because I work at a thrift store, and I do nothing but listen to music and help out customers. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's that's how I know. That's how I came to found you, and you have some awesome music on both of those records.
Yeah, dude, I appreciated you. I think you shared it on your story too. I appreciate it. I did.
That. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Sir. So with these both albums, which one was the? I don't want to say hardest, but I kind of have to. Which one was the most difficult for you to write? And I think I know the answer, but I just want to get your thoughts on the first.
Definitely things I need to say. Like that was a process. We wrote it. I wrote it as I was making it.
Okay.
Which I've like even on this newest record, the newest record coming out is called Things to Come, and it's my favorite thing that I've ever made. It's basically like a more honed in on who I am as an artist version of Things I Need to Say. But Things I Need to Say was such a good learning experience for me, because I was trying to just like, you know, you take songs in, and like I met with my producer and we kind of went over some tracks and like picked them all together, and he was like kind of like, man, we could really use some more stuff like this. And I was like, well, I kind of have fragmented stuff I could work on and put together. So it was like, it was weirdly pressured, because there was, but not in a bad way. Like it was motivated, I guess is a better word. Because there was kind of a little bit of like attention on me, like, hey, we might want to do something label wise with this. And at that time I was like, oh, I'm getting older. I wouldn't be opposed to that. And like, I'm glad it didn't happen, because it, just seeing what everything else, like a lot of my friends have done label stuff, and it just really doesn't seem cool.
Right.
But we won't get into all that right now. But yeah, the Things I Need to Say record was great because of the way that it happened. I don't think I would want that to happen any other way, because it really, I was defining myself as I was making something, and that kind of bonds you more to the art and more to what you're supposed to be doing from there on out, because you remember it. Right. You remember kind of that struggle of like wanting to be able to express what you're feeling to the T. So like what will happen is like I said, when that person comes up to you at the show and says that, you're like, oh, well, I did it. I feel good about putting in that work, because it shows that I was able to deliver the message that I needed to deliver perfectly. But yeah, that was an experience, man. I think about it all the time, and it was cool. It's very fondly too, because we kind of created that with the band in the room at that time, which people don't do a lot anymore these days. But that was so fun to just jam out the songs and figure cool like stops out and stuff with the band, and it was a great experience.
Great. Can you tell us about your recording process? Like what did you? I mean, like, do you record? Do you write down the songs first, or do you write down the music first, or how does that all come about?
Yeah, usually I'll get as far as the song idea starts, it'll either come. I'm lucky enough that if I have words, they usually come with a melody attached.
Okay.
So it's just my job to remember the words. Thank God for like the phones in our notes section or whatever, because you if you're driving or whatever, you can always do, hey Siri, make a note. But it's hard to like dig out a notepad anymore these days and be safe. But it's that'll happen, and I'll try to record a voice memo if the melody comes. Sometimes I'll just come up with a hook that I really dig, and I'll try to find the music later. And as I've gotten better at guitar, I'll find this cool melody I like playing, and I'll write to it. It's like, let's see what comes out. I'll hit record, let's see what comes out. So I usually bring in when I go into record, I bring in a track that literally just all that needs to be added to it is the other instruments. The lyrics are honed in, and my stops, because I can hear production. I just don't trust myself to always produce my own. I love production, but I don't. When it's your baby, it's like really hard to be critical in certain parts, or you're overly critical in certain parts. You need kind of someone there to be like, hey man, stop it. Right.
Yeah. So I guess you prefer going to the actual studio as opposed to recording it in like Reaper and these other studio apps you can download for your computer?
I do prefer the studio. I like the, well, I mean, it's always been the thing. It's always had like an allure to it. Like you want to be able to go into the studio and say you're in the studio and work on that record, but it's whether it's like, I mean, it's kind of about like who I'm working with more now these days. Like my producer went from his studio to, he got a new house and the basement was so big that he just moved his studio down there, so he no longer had to worry about paying rent at a different spot. So that's where we did the record that's about to come out. So it's it was more about like that's still a studio vibe though in my mind. It was like, because I followed my producer to his new place, and that's what I think it is. No matter if that person gets what you do, gets what you want, he like understands your sound completely, like that, you need to stick with that.
Plus it'll be super easy to record. You have a lot of fun with him, and so
absolutely.
I think it'll go a lot faster, and everything.
It's like family. It's like working with family, except sometimes you like them better, so
sometimes you do. Okay, so moving on from your new single, Lillian, which released on September 18th, 2020. Did this come from your life experience as well as the past album, or okay?
This I think this is the last things I need to say was about a moment in my life, and this is kind of about every moment past that and looking forward. That's why the title track is going to be the next single. It's called Things to Come.
Right.
Because I think with things I need to say, I was kind of trapped in a glass case of emotion, to quote Anchorman. So I was anchored to that moment. And this record is about looking forward again. Like I've straightened myself out. I was on a very alcoholic, toxic path for many years, and I've been sober from alcohol for almost 4 now.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's that's the thing. People ask us like, well, how does it feel to not be an alcoholic?
It feels great.
Well, you're always an alcoholic. You just choose to not drink anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can't do it. And I mean, like, that's it. Some people can go out and have a few drinks, man. It's like, that ain't me, unfortunately. Hit the big red stop button on that. But Things to Come. Lillian was about kind of that journey with a girl who I met and fell in love with, and we dated for almost 4 years, and broke up when I had to move back to Texas. Nashville was kind of draining the life out of me. I didn't feel musically fulfilled, and she's an artist as well, and she needed to be in Nashville because she does indie pop, and I think that's a good spot for that right now. And I need to come back to Texas, so absolutely. Well, they were just digging it down here. I came back like 3 to 4 times last year in 2019 to do shows, and I was just like, every time I crossed the state line, I got this gut feeling. It was like, oh my God, I need to be here, and it kind of breaks my heart because well, I loved her too, and I wish I could take her with me, but that's not fair. Like, people need to be where they need to be, so we parted ways very respectfully, and still love each other and care, and are always going to be best friends. But that song's a lot about her, like not to a T. The descriptor words in there are just kind of fun and reflect my character. Like that opening line is just, if you don't know me, I'm kind of a jokester. So the opening line, like, she said she never wears underwear, I said I never wear shorts. It's like, I'm just a weird guy. That's like, that would be me trying to flirt terribly. Like a girl walks up, I never wear underwear, and I'm going, I never wear shorts. It's just me not being able to resist being a goofball. But the story is fairly true in the sense that we were both kind of lost when we found each other, and we were able to find ourselves with each other. Which is very nice. You don't get that a lot. And the title is a name of a street in East Nashville, which was a couple blocks down from where we lived. and I used to pass it every day going to play in downtown Nashville. And I always pass that street sign. I passed so many street signs on the way, but for some reason that one always stood out. So one day I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to the universe.
I'm doing
Whoever's
this
trying
right.
to slap
Yeah.
me, yeah.
Yeah.
So I put it in my notes and saved it, and finally came up with a cool melody one day, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's on the record. It was one that it needed to be there, and it just needed to be a single. It's a fun track. It's fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about this new record is like I came back to Texas and I would make different set lists. We would come back and play for like a month or two at a time, stay on the road in my buddy's pop-up camper. So if we wanted to save money on a hotel, we could just plug up somewhere there was power, like pop that bad boy up in the bed of his truck, and we had an AC in there. Like if we had Wi-Fi or something,
Right.
hook that up and fall asleep watching some cartoons or something.
Right.
But this record is made of like all the songs that I just really enjoyed playing, which I think is great because it's bringing this to a live audience when that's a safer thing for all of us to do on a more steady basis. Like this record is so fun for me to play. It's 10 tracks of my favorite songs to just jam out to.
Right.
And Lillian was one of those.
Yeah. So, knowing that this was a single, will this be on the new record, or is this just like a teaser of what will come for the next record?
As this will be on the next record, and
Okay.
is also, I guess, a teaser, I guess,
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
Tragedy was the first single. Good Old Days was the second. Lillian is the third, and Things to Come, which is the title track, will be the fourth single.
Nice.
And final single before the record is released in January. So that'll come out. Things to Come will come out if if all goes as well with the technology of setting up pre-orders. Like it should be. If you pre-order Things to Come, the entire record, you should get Tragedy, Good Old Days, Lillian, and Things to Come. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So where were you when your manager Michael? Hey Michael, where were you when did he tell you that it hit #1 on the country charts on the iTunes store, or like where were you and how did he find out?
I woke up and looked on my phone. I think that's how we do it these days. I was in bed when I found out because my schedule as a musician is, whether it's COVID-19 or not, like some nights I might just stay up till it's no longer nighttime, I usually wake up to this stuff on my phone, but he had posted it on Facebook and shared it. And it's just cool. Like it's I don't know, #1s are nice. It's flattering. Like I said, the accolades, getting to do the job is its own reward, but at the same time, it's kind of nice when it can do something like that, especially in a place like you've never been and everything like that.
That's true. Yeah. So since hitting the #1 song, are you getting more requests to come to places and play for them, or how is that working out for you?
Yeah, with like interviews, gigs in general, and people reaching out as far as co-writing and stuff right now in different states, which is nice. Yeah. It's cool. It all leads to something, I think. So it's like it's kind of nice. It can get kind of overwhelming. Like I'm a fairly chill guy, but I try to like not make that about who I am internally, and it just like not make it the problem for like if you reached out and I got overwhelmed, which I didn't. It's like I want to make sure. I was like, it's nice enough that he reached out. I was like, I need to chill and do this. Like this is what we do. It's nice. It's overwhelming in a good way, I guess is a better way to put it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So my very last question for you today is, what are you listening to? Because I am a big fan of music, like I said before. I'm always curious, and I'm always grasping for more bands to listen to. So who are you? What are your main bands that you go to right now?
I've been listening to a lot of my friends who put out some really good music lately. I've been listening to a lot. My ex-girlfriend actually has really great indie pop music. Her name's Sam Rochford. Another friend of mine from Canada who was just on the CCMAs last night, Kelsey Kulik. She's consistently putting out good stuff. And Jason Isbell, an Americana artist. We're not friends, but maybe someday.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, it would be awesome to be able to say. But
maybe that's a potential co-writer, you know, later on down the road. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things. Like he and I both write our songs like pretty much by ourselves.
Oh,
like,
yeah, right.
I will co-write. I'm not against it, but a lot of the stuff that I cut is because it's so personal. Is usually stuff I've written by myself, and he's very much. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to him in any way, but he seems to approach it the same way. That's a safer way to say it. I don't want people being like, "You're no Jason Isbell." I was like, I know. Like, he is like as far as guitarists and songwriters, he is godlike.
Yeah.
So I always recommend him, and you can tell he kind of spurs from that Tom Petty vibe as well too. He writes like when he says stuff, like it could be something very profound, but he can say it so simply that it just rocks your face, you know.
Right, exactly.
There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I've been randomly getting back into like 90s grunge, like Hole and Garbage and stuff like that. If you ever listen, like, it's just I don't know why. Like I think it was because the rock and guitar vibe of Lillian. Every time I put out a single, I make a playlist that centers around kind of what I think was my headspace for the song, and I put a lot of the people that I've just talked about on that list. Garbage is on there. Only Happy When It Rains. Soul Asylum, if you remember.
Runaway Train.
Absolutely. That's on there. I just I don't know. It's lately I've been going back to that. Like I listened to that first Third Eye Blind record again the other day, which is perfect because I think the opening track is Losing a Whole Year. It's just like, wow, I get that. That's perfect 2020 anthem right there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Well, I'll go give you. Have you heard? Which I know you have, but I just want to ask you. Have you heard of Brothers Osborne?
Oh, absolutely. Man, I love Brothers Osborne.
Man, their album Port St. Joe. Man, that's kind of killer record, you know.
Oh man, they haven't put out a bad record. Their first one, Pawn Shop, was really cool.
It's
too.
Amazing, yeah. And I pre-ordered their newest record called I think it's called Skeleton Key or something.
I saw they put that out fairly recently that they were going to release it, which is cool. Like what we need in the mainstream country genre. I love that guys like that exist. Well, artists like that in general. There's like a bunch of new female artists too. Like I like Lainey Wilson. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She's like up and coming in Nashville and killing it right now. Is playing on Sirius XM and all that stuff. She's great. Kelsey's out of Nashville too, but is also Canadian. So she's great, and Chris Stapleton obviously breaking through to the mainstream genre.
I'm dying to get him on the show. I'm just dying to get him on the show. Yes, sir.
He would be great. He's one of those guys too. He seems like real. I've never met him. I've been in the same room as him, but he just seems like so chill. Like he seems like just a real guy.
Yeah. Okay. So wait. So you said you've been in the same room, but you never met him before?
Yeah. Well, so it's like back in the day, I was with the Hank Williams estate for years, and when they would go to events, I would go to like kind of help out, or because sometimes I was an opening act for them.
Okay.
So it would have bigger names in the room.
Right.
So it's not like I wouldn't always approach people because it was their kind of show. Right. So I got to be in the shadow of a lot of things, and. Also, he would just do random shows around town, Nashville. Back like he was in a band called the Johnson Brothers.
Yeah,
and they used to play at like Third and Lindsley and stuff, which is a venue there. I think that's right. Third and Lindsley, or yeah, it wasn't 12th and Port. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. But
That's okay.
yeah, he used to randomly play around town, and if you just happened to get a free ticket, then you would get to see Chris play. Like that was before anyone knew who he was. And you know, he was in the Steel Drivers prior.
Yeah.
And when they broke through in bluegrass, like you couldn't, they were just winning all the Grammys and stuff because they were so different from the bluegrass genre. But yeah, dude, I hope you get him on, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch.
That would be awesome to see. And and he's written so many great records. I'm glad he's finally coming down and singing his own songs. You know, because it's one thing to hear. It's one thing to hear someone else sing your song, but it's another thing to hear you sing your own song because you show more feeling, more more in depth of what the song is. You know.
Oh man, and he just straight murders a song.
Yes.
Like I can't imagine someone hearing Chris sing a song and being like, yeah, I'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great song, I get it, but like I know the way that he approaches things. He's just like kind of like, well, I don't want you to try to sound like me. I want you to, do your version of it, which is that's one thing that I've heard him say in interviews, which I really like. Someone asked him once, they were like, who do you think is going to be the next Chris Stapleton? And he was like,
nobody.
Nobody. He was like, I don't want anybody to try to be me. I want someone to try to be themselves.
Right,
like, that's and when he was asked that question, he did answer after he said that. He said Brent Cobb, which is another guy to check out.
Okay.
He's really good.
Yeah.
But he's cool. I'm glad that real stuff like that exists in the mainstream genre. Like, no offense to the genre at all, but like there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't do it for me. And Brothers Osborne, like you mentioned, is definitely one of them. And Chris,
they're
and
so great.
they do stuff together a lot too, as far as touring and stuff goes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get an album of them, co-writing each other's songs or something. I'm not sure. But yeah. So thank you very much for coming on when Word Trail Music Speaks. It's always been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to get you back here after your new record releases. So,
man,
when can we expect that record to release?
It'll come out January 2021. I think I'm shooting for January 8th.
Okay.
I don't think that'll change, but I usually just to play it safe, will just say January 2021.
Right,
you never know.
Okay.
Stuff happens.
Yes.
But it'd be an honor and a pleasure to come back on. You just reach out and let me know, dude. We'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
All right. Bye.